Oh, there's definitely. Good morning, everybody. This is a Gold Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David, and the morning has just gone from yucky to more yucky because the rain has started and we're about to get some very heavy rain. We've got a series of fronts. It's just going to be a miserable day here in New Zealand. 10 knots from the north-northwest, which is lovely because we're bringing in some of your warm air. It's 19 degrees, or not, even though it looks pretty grim outside. It's all off, says David. 1004.5 and plunging, absolutely rocketing down. So a couple of hours ago I put 95% cloud cover, but it's now 100%. Of course, with this rain, just heard that it's much nicer on the way from Minerva to Fiji. Bonaire and Anahata, Amazing Grace are all having a very pleasant trip by the sound of it. Looks absolutely perfect. So at this point in time, I'll just do a pause to see if we hear from anybody else. I'm not sure if there's anybody there. It does sound as if there might have been something in the background. I'll call for relays shortly. But in the meantime, I will give a bit of news. I thought I'd better, after the butt mask yesterday, do some serious news today. Actually, it is a pretty serious start too. I know that there is at least one cruiser out there from Budapest, and they had a very bad accident on the river yesterday. A tourist boat got hit by another boat and capsized. There are at the moment 7 dead but 19 missing. Quite a few Koreans on board. It was near the Margaret Bridge, for those that know Budapest, and for some reason after it got hit, the tourist boat, which was the Hableani, I'm sure Gail is going to squirm with my pronunciation. It's the Hungarian word for mermaid. It's been there, a tourist boat, for about since 2003. The river was very, very high and flowing fast, so they're having to search way down. They've had a lot of rain, so it's quite a problem to recover the bodies. But that was in Budapest yesterday. There's a new Prime Minister in Papua New Guinea. He was the former Finance Minister that resigned earlier in the year over something. He's now the new Prime Minister there. Looking at Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and he's in a spot of problems at the moment. The US Federal Trade Commission are thinking that he's just got too much responsibility in the world. He is the co-founder, of course, he is the CEO, he is the board chairman, and he is the majority shareholder. And that's just about too much power for one person, according to the Federal Trade Commission. So they are looking at the privacy issue that has been quite a problem for Facebook over the last year or two, and it looks like they are going to get a record-breaking fine. Facebook told their investors yesterday, or last week, that it had put aside $3 billion to pay this fine. Boy, that's going to be one fine. I suppose almost pay for another ship, wouldn't it? Anyway, the US taxpayers will be happy about that. Well, talking about money, we had our budget yesterday, and it had been leaked, of course. Well, it hadn't been leaked. By the definition of leaking, it had not been leaked. What happened was that the Treasury Department had set up a sort of pseudo website so that they could launch that on the night of the budget, which was last night. And unfortunately, they left a link to it, which was exploited by people doing a search. It unfortunately went through to the pseudo website that was meant to be just for Treasury in the background. But anyway, getting on to it, it's called the Wellbeing Budget, and there's a lot of money for people at the bottom end of the scale. There's going to be a 1.4 billion spend more than last year, so that's going to make the surplus almost non-existent. So there's going to be quite a problem if that goes overboard. A lot of money, 1.9 billion over 5 years for mental health services, 1.4 billion funding for the Auckland City Rail Link, which has gone over budget. Some more money for the Kiwi Rail, that's about $1 billion. It's going to be over 5 years. I think there's 1.7 billion for hospital buildings and 1.2 billion for school buildings, spread over 10 years. I often wonder when they say spread over 10 years. I mean, they're not probably going to be in government in 10 years, so I never do know whether that's actually fixed or whether it's going to be changed by the next incoming government. But anyway, a lot of money for stuff that is going to help people at the lower end of the financial spectrum. Going on to Israel, they have not managed to form a coalition government. This is the problem in many parts of the world now. The vote is so split, and then people have to talk to each other and make some agreement. And obviously, there's people that have agendas and don't want to work with other people, so they have dissolved parliament, and there will be another election in September. So I hope they can work something out there. Just a matter of interest, in San Diego, a girl who was probably the tiniest baby to ever be born and survive in the world has just left hospital. At birth, she was 244 grams, and in ancient units, that's 8.6 ounces. So she actually survived 244 grams. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, half a pound. And so she left hospital at 2 kilograms, which I think it was about 5 pounds. She was 5 months in intensive care, but I'm sure her problems are not over yet. Those very, very tiny pre-birth folk they do have a few troubles ahead of them. Well, this next one is for David, because Ferrari have released their first plug-in hybrid supercar. Can you imagine Ferrari? Anyway, it's their most powerful car. It's called the Ferrari SF90 Stradale. Have I got that pronunciation right? Stradale. It's got a 3.96 V8 engine, 3 electric motors. It produces 986 horsepower. That would leave you in the dust, wouldn't it? Yeah. 2 of those motors drive the front wheels, and the third is attached to the gasoline engine mounted behind the seats. It has 8-speed transmission. It's virtually the same as their Formula One race car, even though it is theoretically a production car. It can go to 0 to 60 in just over 2 seconds. A bit of a laugh, really. If you wanted to use it on full electric, you could drive 15 miles. That should probably get you to the gas station, would it? Hopefully. But it can go 84 miles per hour on full electric, but you'd have to get there quickly because after 15 miles you'd run out. In fact, even at that speed you might run out a bit quicker than that. But it looks beautiful, although by the sound of it doesn't show you the inside. I don't think there'd be even room for your lipstick with all of that extra electric motors in it and so on. But on the outside, and indeed the one that they showed was red.
A travesty.
A travesty, yes. Well, there you are. I'm sure they put the noise into it, though. I mean, it would still sound pretty much the same. Okay, we better see if there's any of the boats that are on passage still going. French Curve, you on frequency? Oh, it's not great signal this morning, but it looks like your wind might have backed a bit. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3. 179 degrees. West. We're heading up 179. We are supposed to be out 6.5. Wind is out of southeast.
Oh, I had hoped it was east-southeast. I didn't get the wind strength. Southeast, what was it?
8 knots.
8 knots. Okay, but you've made some pretty good progress. A good just over 2 degrees south, so that's pretty acceptable, isn't it, for French Curve? Now at 1223 south and 17918 west with a southeast of 8. yes, everything's looking pretty nice up there, looking at the satellite picture. So a bit of cloud in your area, but other than that, pretty pleasant sailing by the look of it, over.
Yeah, we're basically for the call and just
Okay, that does sound good. Thank you for that. Looking at, we'd hope, is it going to go east southeast a bit? No? No, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's going to stay southeast pretty much.
Yeah, no, southeast pretty much, if that's what you've got now.
But later.
But light. Okay, I haven't seen anything from, oh no, hang on, there's been a few, there must have been a Sail Mail download. We've got Alchemy 2 is looking to be going pretty well. Where are they? 2-1 and 175 west, and they're motoring because southeast 12 approaching Tongatapu, so they'll be in by lunchtime today, which is good. They were able to sail for most of it, so that was excellent. And Lupan, devoted supporters, I'm just having a quick read through. And I talked to David before, what's it like in the Hapais? From Whistler there at Kalafisi with 4 other yachts. Oh, they've caught a mahi-mahi on the way. That's about the first report we've heard of mahi-mahi. It is a pretty nice spot there. I wonder if that boat, what was the name of it, is still on the reef there.
That's Hakapisi.
Oh, that's Hakapisi. This is Kalafisi. That's right. Got my feces muddled up here, but anyway.
Get your shit together,
Get my shit together, yes. The wind, sorry about the, hard to concentrate here. 5 to 10 knots from the southeast, 10% cloud cover, and 1014. Oh, lovely 25 degrees. That sounds very nice. So, and Lady Nada is in Nuku'alofa, going to waiting customs. So, no wind there at all. So that's interesting. 10 knots in easterly they sailed in. Okay, that's about it from here. Is there anybody else with any addition? Probably Kaya almost at the Tanner spot. Is there anybody else with anything to report? Nothing heard. Is there actually, who's got a good signal? I don't like to ask a single-hander. David wants the microphone. Better just check if there's anybody who can't copy me, but I'll do that after the net because there'll be a few boats that are just in the almost out of the skip, and we'll give them a few more minutes. There's Friday weather, so I better hand the microphone over. Here's David.
Okay. Good morning, and we'll start with the synoptic picture again, which is none too bright for New Zealand. Looking out the window, it's horrible. A complex low system resides over the country with other depression centers south of the South Island. So we've got front after front that emanate from these depressions. All of New Zealand is under cyclonic flow extending north all the way up to 28 south. Now, those of you in Harbour here in New Zealand who had planned to depart north today through Sunday, well, you may want to stay in bed. Over southeast Australia now, our next high is trying to push a ridge toward Newcastle by Sunday. It's trying and trying and trying. It's at 1038 high, 1038. Not trivial, very strong. And as it does push into our depressions, a series, let's just call it a severe swash zone develops in the Tasman. Now, listen to this. The sea state near North Cape on Saturday is forecast to develop 7 to 8 meters coming out of the southwest. By Sunday, we're looking at 6 meters along about 30 south and 4 meters at about 25 south. So those are some very, very big seas out there. Now, they do come down on Monday somewhat to about 3 to 4 meters. The wind outlook is simply not good. There are gale warnings now for Brett and Colville. So Brett and Colville encompass Opua and down at Marsden. the Cape Reinga area, North Cape, all up in there, could expect today 35 knots and 35 knots on Saturday, easing somewhat on Sunday. There's also gale warnings for Kaipara. That's the west coast opposite of Pua. So we've got gales all over the place up here in the North Island. So for the waiting yachts, my weekend forecasting job is pretty easy. Stay in port. But, well, that's not advice, just common sense. Now for Minerva, those still reducing the lobster stocks, or crays as we call them, should have light air today. So enjoy the reef, really. It should be quite nice. You may see a wind shift tomorrow. The cyclonic flow from New Zealand works its way north, so you might expect light westerlies. Now Sunday, maybe southwest winds, light air though, probably in the 10 knot range or even less. Now don't be too surprised if cloud bands approach and come over you from the southwest. They will skew the winds that I just gave you and add some exciting gusts. They just come and go. Models seldom pick this up, and you can see it on satellite imagery, but the satellite doesn't forecast. So I can only tell you what I think is going to happen. Now for the run from Minerva to Tonga or Fiji. Those underway should have pretty light air today. We're hearing from a bunch, and that's what you are getting. Mostly easterly quadrant. Probably a motor toward Tonga or Fiji on Saturday. Let's put it this way, pretty light air on Saturday. Sunday, I think we're going to see light westerlies, at least westerly quadrant for Tonga, and south to southeasterly if you're going to Fiji. And on Monday, southerlies for Tonga and southeasterlies for Fiji. That'll be around 15 knots. And in spite of this light air, be aware of cloud bands. Again, not as bad as Minerva, but there could be some cloud bands coming through you as you're making this trip, and they are convective in nature. Okay, up in the tropics, our trough is still over the Solomons. The cold front from New Zealand extends to Norfolk Island, and then, well, I looked at it at 5 o'clock this morning, and it was just to the southwest of New Caledonia. And now I've just refreshed the loop, and the clouds are almost on top of New Caledonia. In fact, some already are in the southern lagoon, so it's moving fairly rapidly. There is another trough, from what I can see, looking at the loop that's just northeast of the Santa Cruz Islands. There's another from Tuvalu to Futuna. So French Curve is lucky. They're just to the west of this mess. There is another over Tokelau. And finally, we can't leave out the Northern Cooks. And they have a nice trough sitting over them. Tonga now, taking a look at the islands. Tonga shows pretty fast-moving cloud running south to north, but otherwise mostly fair. There is a chance for scattered showers out of these clouds. So today, moderate east to southeast, maybe 10 to 15. Tomorrow, east-southeast for Vavau, but might be east-northeast for the Hapais. And about the same thing on Sunday, but lighter air for the Hapais. Now, Monday, we're going to see a shift to southerlies in the 10 knot range. Tonga Tapu this morning, for those of you that happen to be there, take a look at your barometer. The pressure is at 6 a.m., 1014.6. That's 1014.6. And the wind was southeast 5 knots at the airport. That's a real report. Over to Fiji, where the trough to the north, well, might drift down, might drift south to affect Fiji's northern bits. In this could be thunderstorms, and with that, heavy showers. Don't say it's going to happen, but it could happen. Winds southeast 10 to 15. In the mean, tomorrow, 15 to 20. Sunday, southeast around 15, still southeast. and about the same on Monday. Over to Vanuatu, that looks fine on satellite imagery. Looks perfect for the mountain there on Tanna. Winds southeast up to 20 in the northern half of the group, but about 10 to 15 from Port Vila southward. Much the same direction on Saturday, but winds might be a little bit stronger than what I said. Sunday, 15 to 20 southeast, but might be up to 25 knots near the bank, so a bit of action up there. And on Monday for the group southeast, about 15 to 20, so pretty normal wind conditions for Vanuatu. New Caledonia's satellite loop, like I said, it looked great at 5 a.m., but not so great now. So the frontal band could be affecting the southern lagoon. Winds, though, look fairly light and might even be variable, but still a very, very good chance for showers, and the wind would probably strengthen a bit at that point. By dinner, I see southwest winds 10 to 15, so that will indicate that that trough or extension of cold front is going to be sitting in there. On Saturday, southerlies in the 15 knot range, and Sunday, southeast 10 to 15, changes a bit there, as you can see, partly cloudy. So, well, there you go for New Cal. Now, back to those of you here in New Zealand wanting to leave, we'll see on your grids a very nice high that's moving into the upper Tasman. And that's going to provide very nice south-southwest winds for the Opua area come Monday. But lurking just to the south of this high is yet another depression. Now, that depression's moving, and it's moving pretty quickly, so it could be over New Zealand on Tuesday. That means winds up and down, I would say 170 east to the dateline, all up and down there. We're looking at northerly quadrant, in other words, on the nose, with the cold front that's associated with this, probably on Wednesday, and that will have within it northwest winds. So it's not looking very good for departure the early part of next week, but when we come on Monday, we'll give you a heads up on that, see what has changed, and you can decide what you're going to do then. And very lastly, I looked at the latest reports for the ENSO cycle. This is El Nino, La Nina. We are still neutral, with the sea surface temperatures quite normal in that very important area, the Nino 3.4 region. That's the region that's between French Polynesia and the west coast of South America. We looked at that particular region as one of the indicators of El Nino. Sea surface temperatures are normal. If we were going to get an El Nino, they would be high. They would be way up there, but they are not. Now, the alarmists, some of which can't even spell science, are gnashing their teeth over this. What a shame. Okay, here's the boss.
Oh, thank heavens he didn't get on his pedestal here. I've just been looking at a fantastic, look at this picture that Ulla and Pele sent from Savu, a picture of Lupan, Archipelago, and Atla Crew, amongst a couple of others by the look of it. Really, really good picture. We must get a couple of pictures printed, actually, to remind us that there are people out there who enjoy listening to the weather each morning. All right, is there anybody wanting to join us and give a position or just provide any information that needs to be passed on? Please call. Local talent, go ahead. Wow, I've got no idea what you have just said. That is incredibly difficult, Dean. But I presume you heard the Budapest information there. Could you just try again? That's not picking it up clearly. Over.
We're waiting for the cruise ship to come in.
Oh, okay, Indonesia waiting for the cruise ship. Yeah, yeah, that's a big event there. That's certainly not worth going on to Mystery Island. Oh, actually, I think we did go onto Mystery Island because there's quite a bit of stuff that they set up for the cruise ship folk. It's sort of interesting to see what the sudden increase in prices for things are when the cruise ship comes in. So, yeah, it looks absolutely gorgeous in the whole of Vanuatu, actually. So, good morning to you and Gail. Over. Okay, no problem. I'm just noting Tanner on Monday. All right. So we'll get you see what it's going to be like there. All right. And did Gail know about that boat? She probably grimaced at my pronunciation of the mermaid, but did she know about that horrible accident in Budapest? Over. Yep.
Their Oriental buddies.
Oriental over the horizon radar has just started up what we call the woodpecker. So that's going to mean that I will probably draw the net to a close. It's going to be very, very hard to understand or hear anybody. Okay, we will be back on Monday, folks, after enjoying a pretty miserable couple of days here with the weather, and we will obviously be here on the GH Radio at extra.co.nz if anyone's got any urgent query on the weather. But other than that, enjoy your weekend. It's certainly going to be a lot better weather than here. Cheers, everybody. Enjoy the day. Stop. It's interesting.